Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking. And I know I haven't made a video for at least a week, but it's so hot. It's actually kind of sometimes, to sit down and do some work is just a torture. But anyway, I wanted to speak to you about Chiron Retrograde. So I'm a day late. It went retrograde on the 15th of July, and then I'm posting the video today on the 16th. But that's okay, because actually Chiron has got quite a long period of retrograde motion, and it's going to last till December 19th, 2021. Now, Chiron turned retrograde on 12 degrees of Aries, and it's going to go back to 8 degrees of Aries. So if you have any planet in cardinal signs, such as Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer, or angles between that 8 to 12 degree, then you might want to specifically pay attention to this video and transit. Because what I'm going to do is, in the second part of the video, I'm going to break it down what you need to learn. So I'm going to go through Chiron transits on each planet. I'm going to only go through the big ones. So no asteroids, no other points in the chart. I'm not going to necessarily go through the angles either, just planets. Okay. Now, in the first part of the video, we're just going to be speaking about Chiron generally, what Chiron indicates in the chart. I've got a little bit of a theory about that. And in the middle section of the video, we will be speaking about what Chiron retrograde might mean overall to everyone. So Chiron is actually the wounded healer of the zodiac. I would say that wherever Chiron is in your chart, it's quite a sensitive area, because that's where you might feel broken. That's where you might have gained some kind of like pain, which you need to overcome. But also Chiron shows you the biggest opportunity in your life where you can heal, where you can actually create new karma for yourself. And I tend to be looking at Chiron as actually a vocational planet, because if you manage to heal that part of your chart, then actually you can become a master of that. Now, you might be looking at me like, Victor, you have gone nuts. Chiron, all I read about Chiron is such a bad negative energy, and I completely disagree with that. So yes, Chiron has gone through pains, has gone through shame. He felt broken once he got wounded, but he realized his true essence, which was about healing others. So he eventually dedicated his life to save other people's life. So when it comes to Chiron, I think it's one of the vocational indicators in your chart, which is going to be telling you that if you integrate that area of life into your life, then basically that planet can bring you some type of success as well. Now, another thing which I would like to actually clarify for you, that yes, we call Chiron as the wounded healer. I don't necessarily agree with that. Completely. I mean, it is a wounded healer, but on the other hand, I think it's also a teacher archetype. Now, he was actually the teacher of Hygieus' father, the god of medicine. So, and he was actually the Greek god of medicine, and he was actually teaching him how to create those medicines and how to actually heal others. So he wasn't, at the first part of his life, he wasn't necessarily doing the healing part itself. He was more like a mentor to someone else. So the placement of Chiron in your natal chart shows where you are most vulnerable. Chiron brings you healing powers, but this often comes with a price as well. Perhaps you overcompensate, or if this is negatively aspected, you can wallow in your pay and use it for getting attention from others. Now, he tends to spend 4 years in one sign. As I mentioned, I think he's more like a teacher than a healer, teaching through personal experiences. Shadow Chiron is basically the wounder or the victim in our chart. So Chiron can show what is holding us back to be successful, the excuses we might come up with to kind of avoid getting out there and then, let's say, be popular. So Chiron somehow indicates some of the past life in your life, the painful blockages. In my opinion, Chiron has got the flavor of Saturn and Uranus. Now, why is that? Astronomically speaking, Chiron is in between Saturn and Uranus. Saturn is the past and Uranus is going forward, the innovation, the progressive way of thinking. So what it actually indicates for us, if we manage to heal the past, Saturn, if we manage to actually integrate that into our life and we don't feel ashamed by it, then actually we can go forward with the future. So Chiron, in my opinion, is a Saturn-Uranus conjunction in your chart. Now, as I mentioned, it's going to go retrograde on 12 degrees of Aries, going to go back to 8 degrees. So if you have got any point in the cardinal signs, then you definitely want to be paying attention to Chiron energies. Now, of course, Chiron goes retrograde in the sign of Aries. So that kind of brokenness or that wound is very much about your identity, because Aries is something to do with the self. It's who we are. So in many cases, what happens with Chiron being in Aries is that we kind of feel that we can't really be who we want to be. We don't know actually who we are, or we feel that something is wrong with us, or actually the world is kind of attacking us and they are trying to tell us that whatever we do or touch is just not going in the right direction. So something needs to be healed in regards to the self. And usually before we actually able to heal ourselves, we go through a healing crisis. So imagine that, for instance, there is a vase, and you drop the vase and then it's shattered into little pieces. You trying to kind of put that together, and it's going to be extremely hard job. Chiron indicates something in your chart where, yes, you can put everything together, but it's not going to be exactly like it was before. So somehow it is something which is getting stuck in the subconscious within us. Or to give you another example, imagine that, for instance, you are a sports person. Sorry, I might be coming up with plenty of sport ideas, but it really goes with the Aries theme anyway. But imagine that you break your leg and you were a professional runner. And then it takes you about 6 to 8 weeks to heal. And then probably the doctor will say that it's going to be hard for you to get back into work or into you doing some sport activities. Or I'll give you another example. For instance, imagine that I've got a brilliant example for that. So I was struggling with gallbladder about 4 years ago, and the pain came and then come back. So, and it was very painful. So I went through like kind of a full labor. Sometimes it was only 8-hour pain. Sometimes it was actually 16-hour pain. So I always ended up at the hospital, and I was on the drips to kind of flush my body through and trying to get the pain away. Now, what happened was I got all those painkillers, and of course, it kind of numbed the pain and the feeling itself. But as soon as it kind of got out of my body, then this type of pain came back. So Chiron, what it says is that you need to be healing something on a soul level first before actually you heal the physical part of the illness. So it's like, let's say you had your leg broken, and then you take antibiotics or you take painkillers. But something also needs to be done about it. It's not just about taking the medicine all the time. So, of course, because in my opinion, but you don't need to agree with that, but any type of medicine is kind of a poison, right? So it sends some type of messages to the brain, and the brain deals with it. So Chiron really much talks to you about fixing things on a soul level as well, fixing things on an emotional level before we actually gonna, take any type of tablets. And that's when you can actually get rid of anything. So from a kinesiology point of view, not many people know, but I studied kinesiology for 4 years when I was 20. But what fascinated the most is the emotional background of each of the illness. So for instance, if someone has got cancer, that talks about that the love we felt from others were not, what's the word, like worked through in the right area of your body. So we called it as feeling the love at the wrong place. So cancer, for instance, is always related somehow to love and a little bit of a bitterness in regards to those love feelings. Okay, so Chiron kind of like talks about fixing the emotional level, and then after we can fix the physical level as well, because the emotional level is actually overloading your physical body as well, and therefore we're gonna get sick, and we're gonna feel burnt out, and so on. So this is what pretty much Chiron really indicates in our chart. And of course, if you don't deal with this pain, what you've got, which is, as I mentioned, the root of it is an emotional blockage, then actually you're going to start dissociate yourself from that part of your life, that part of your chart. So to give you an example, I have got Chiron in the 3rd house, which would indicate some type of communicational blockages. Now, I do remember that I had language blockages, and then I'm very sensitive I'm still very sensitive. I have worked on it a lot, but I'm still very sensitive when someone says to me, oh, we can't understand your English and all those type of things. And I usually reply, come on, I'm a foreigner. I speak English fluently. You know, if you don't want to listen to me, then just don't subscribe to my channel, move on and find an English speaking person. I feel like I studied English for 25 years. I mastered it enough to be understood. But anyway, it's not about criticizing anyone or criticizing me because of my language skills. It's just to give you an example that Chiron in the 3rd house, for instance, could indicate language barriers. It could indicate that someone is going to start talking late, or they are afraid of speaking in front of the public. Now, of course, I am speaking to you right now in front of the public, but one of the reasons why I was always very hesitant to start YouTube videos was like, oh, because people are going to be, you know, criticizing me because of my language barrier or my accent, or they're not gonna like how I look like, they're not gonna like my physical appearance, because by the way, the ruler of my Chiron is Venus, which is in the 1st house, so somehow that communicational blockage also belongs, or it's in correlation with the body and the appearance as well. So Chiron is an area of life which you need to accept in your life, and that's the only way how it's going to work. So it's an emotional medicine as well as a physical medicine. So when Chiron is actually going retrograde, then it's very much telling you that you need to become your own medicine, because you need to go internal, and then you need to discover the root of the problem, whatever is going through in your life. Moving inwards, looking at where this problem comes from, and then basically eliminating that from your life. So when Chiron is actually moving forward, we tend to be looking for the answers outside the world. So we might be looking out for a mentor in our life, we might be asking for an advice from those people, or we might be going to a doctor or a shaman or an astrologer. But this time around, it asks you to look into yourself very deeply become your own spiritual guru, become your own coach. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can't ask advice from someone you trust, but also do the hard work yourself. Chiron retrograde could really talk about that you're going to have to travel far away. Now, it's not just the physical travel. So let's say I decide to travel to Thailand from Bulgaria because it's Chiron retrograde, but it could really talk about traveling very, very far away down the ancestry line as well. And then I might do a spiritual cleansing there. So somehow the self can get hurt in the sign of Aries. It might be the motivation level is a little bit dropping, and then we're going to have to look at why that is happening in our life. Or maybe the sexual drive is dropping as well. However, at the same time, we do have got Mars and Venus conjunction as well happening almost on the same day. So something around the sexuality, the relationship matters, definitely something very important. Now, thank God, Chiron won't be going back to 0 degree of Aries, but that would be the world axis. So it would be interesting to look at. If you are interested, Google it. But when Chiron was, for instance, hitting the 0 degree of Aries, probably there were plenty of world events happening. Okay. Now, Chiron is retrograde for almost 5 months. Actually more than that, about 5.5. So that's going to be definitely something we're gonna have to look at. Now, Chiron is gonna go direct on the 20th of December. So we've got approximately about additional 5 months to look at what we can heal in our chart. Now, I'm going to be speaking to you a little bit about Chiron transiting certain planets in your chart, but also you can use this description for natal chart readings as well. So if Chiron is transiting your sun, then it could be talking about some of the healings to be done around your father, maybe an authoritative parent. We might be having a fear of going for what you want, and somehow you are indecisive about it. So you're going to have to look at why that is happening to you. Maybe actually you believe that it's a lot safer to have a goal, not to have a goal actually, than to have one. Maybe you're going to have to re-examine whether there is so much burden of responsibility in your life. And it might be something you received at a very early age. Maybe I had to take care of my parents. Maybe I had to be looking after my sisters and the brothers while mommy and daddy were working very hard. Typically, this is talking about why we are not feeling good about ourselves, why we don't have, for instance, enough qualification. You can become, with Chiron Sun transit, the harshest critics of yourself. And of course, what happens is that you're going to experience that others will start criticizing you as well. You might believe that it's never good enough what I do. People are not really appreciating my work, or they are always dissatisfied with the quality or the quantity of what I produce. Somehow we might feel that I'm not allowed to shine when Chiron is in aspect to the sun. We might actually fear about life, and we might feel drained out as well, because the sun is the planet of vitality. Actually, you might have received punishment for shining. So actually, it might be about that you've started, you've initiated something, and then someone tells you off for that. You don't feel appreciated. You don't necessarily want to be in the shoe of your father. So in many cases, we want to be different as well. We want to be creating our own identity. Because maybe the father didn't spend enough time with me because he was working very hard. Or a son, which is all about the spotlight, the stage, the center of attention. So somehow we might feel that this time around, I don't deserve attention whatsoever. When it comes to Chiron transit to the moon, it could actually bring an emotional coldness. Maybe the parents, especially the mom, were emotionally unavailable. A mom maybe who didn't know how to be a mom, or a mom who was very dutiful, and she also had blockages to express her feelings. Or a mom who actually pushed me to achieve her own goals. So like, oh, I have always wanted to become a ballet dancer, right? So I want my child to become one. And therefore, because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, I kind of created this emotional distance with others, and I don't know what the key is to happiness. Sometimes Chiron, in connection to moon, has got hardship of receiving feedbacks from others as well. Not only the negative ones, but the positive as well. So if someone tells me, oh, you're looking handsome today, then Chiron and moon reaction is like, oh, come on, you need to wear glasses, right? Go to the Specsavers and so forth. I don't know if it exists in America, but in England, we called it Specsavers. It could actually talk about anxiety, being very like cautious about what you put on, how you dress like, because you don't want your body to be out there. So there is an element of a shame around the body. It's very possible that the mom had to take on both parenting roles as well, meaning that she was a single mom and she had plenty of her plate. And then that's why you don't know how to love or how to be loved by others. Or it's like, if I'm working all the time, then I don't need to feel. That might be some of the motto which Chiron and Moon would be saying. So you might want to be paying attention to how much workload you take on, because there could be an element of an overcompensation with that. Chiron and Moon aspect typically becomes a people pleaser because we start feeling that no one ever wants me. This world is very harsh and it's cold-blooded. So one way actually I'm going to be able to survive if I assimilate with others. In many cases, Moon and Chiron gets blamed, or actually the individual takes the blame for everything, because it's just a lot easier than being in an unpleasant environment. So with Chiron and Moon, we tend to swallow a lot, but of course, it's going to be a boiling point. There is going to be a boiling point at one moment, and it's going to explode as well. So Chiron wants you this time around to look at all these parts of your life. When Chiron has got an aspect to Mercury, maybe actually I am scared to speak up. Maybe I've had a very difficult relationship with my sibling. Maybe actually I was given way too much responsibility with my sibling, or because of my sibling. Or there were rules when to speak in my environment, and therefore I kind of created some type of blockages. Or maybe I was made fun as a child, or I am very shy about talking, or I was teased about the way I said things, or I was actually scared to ask questions, or I am scared to be curious because people are going to laugh at me. I don't feel educated enough. I don't feel that I've got the right to speak about something if I don't have every single detail at my hand. Or we might believe that my opinion does not count whatsoever because no one ever interested in what I have got to say. Or maybe because I am boring, or I am stupid, I'm not educated enough. Or I might feel that I cannot make a mistake. I need to learn more and more, and then eventually I become an eternal student. So if you have got this transit, Chiron wants you to touch base on these topics in one way or another, revisit them, and then maybe heal yourself on an emotional level. When you have got aspect from Chiron to your Venus, well, it's going to be talking about self-worth issues. Maybe I'm not allowed to do something which I truly enjoy. Or maybe a relationship needs to be authorized by someone. Maybe my parents don't accept my choices when it comes to love, and I have to have a secret relationship and all those type of, you know, lovers and stuff like that, because I don't want them to know about this. Or we might feel that the love has to be earned and it's a very hard work. So I have to please my partner all the time. Or maybe it could talk about money blockages as well. So maybe it's a sin to make loads of money. And that was kind of like the subconscious teaching by my parents. Or maybe actually I feel like I have to give up my own tastes because it might be disrespectful for others, but actually it's not. Maybe we tend to be blaming actually others a lot for not being successful. Or we might believe that, hold on, we are adults. We just need to get on with it, and then we just need to work harder. Chiron Venus can really talk about that I don't deserve happiness. I'm not likable enough. I'm not attractive enough. I will always be single. I will always be poor. Or work is not meant to be fun. Only men can get to the top. Chiron wants you to look at which sentence is actually striking a chord within yourself, and you have to start working on that on an internal level. So you might want to remember that Chiron is a psychological planet. Now, when it comes to Chiron having an aspect to your Mars, we might have got some fear of initiating, or we don't want to be in competition with others because I cannot be selfish. I might be too frightened to stand up for myself. So I'd rather stand up for others. Maybe I was told to give up on some of my needs, which I really badly wanted, because it wasn't just suitable for my environment. Maybe I wanted to buy you know, a toy, but my little brother needed a new pair of shoes. And of course, a child won't necessarily understand that. Actually, we can have overly careful parents as well with Chiron aspect to Mars. It could cause impotency issues as well to the man. So we might believe that, okay, it's better not to start anything relationship-wise or sexually because it's never going to work out anyway. So of course, all these type of energies can lead to depression. So Chiron might be telling you this time around, look at the cause of your depression, work hard on it, because depression is never going to take you anywhere. Maybe actually one of the significant problems you have with Chiron and Mars, that you were punished for something you haven't even done. We might feel that actually I'm not allowed to break my promise, or you might believe that arguing and expressing your opinion is actually wrong. Or I might believe that if I started something, I have to finish it. So imagine that you go to the university and you started studying something, and then your parents are paying the bill for it. And then halfway through, you realize that it's not my cup of tea. I'm never going to do it, but I'm still going to finish it because I don't want to hurt my parents' feelings. And then in the end, we're going to end up becoming a lawyer as well. We get stuck at work for 10 years or 15 or 20. And then eventually I realize that I'm 40 years old and the time has passed by me, and I want to do something new. So in many cases, Chiron and Mars aspect is all about doing what we are told to do. When you have got Chiron having an aspect to your Jupiter, it could actually talk about a strict religious upbringing or background, or very strong norms and opinions in the family, and I don't know how to walk away from that. We might have been told not to become too optimistic because life is actually cruel. So don't stop dreaming about being rich, or stop dreaming about becoming a singer or an actor, because you're never going to make that in the industry, every single actress needs to sleep with someone to be famous. And in this family, we don't do those type of things. And then eventually we start believing this, Jupiter, right? So it becomes a subconscious thought, which needs to be kind of rewritten or erased somehow from the brain. In many cases, these people are struggling to find the meaning to life, the meaning to their life. So this Chiron transit could really talk about, let's go back to our childhood. For instance, what did I want to become when I was 5 years old or 10 years old? And why did I not become that person? Who stopped me? What circumstances happened since then? And why I'm here where I am at the moment. Actually, Chiron and Jupiter could be very afraid of flying as well. Or it might be, you know, Jupiter is the visionary planet. So Chiron is a little bit grounding with that Saturnian flavor to it. So it says, I only believe it when I see it. Maybe you get a phone call that, oh, you won on the lottery or you won on that scratch card, come and collect the money. And then all of a sudden, oh, it's just a scam. What's the point in going? Actually, a friend of mine has got this Chiron-Jupiter transit actually right now. And he received a phone call a few days ago. Oh, do you want to come and for an interview? Because we found your CV somewhere. And then he was like, oh, I'm guessing it's just a scam anyway. But shall I? When I was like, just go. What can you lose? So he went and then he didn't take the job, by the way, but he did go there. And then he learned something about the company. If you have got a Chiron aspect to your Saturn, now this could be a very depressive energy. It can be very much about negative way of thinking, and this person might be living in the past. So we're gonna have to go back in that past and then not erasing that, but fixing it. It could be about blockages from authority figures, because they said that you don't deserve, for instance, to get promoted. And you badly want to get promoted, and you don't necessarily understand what is the reason for not getting that promotion, right? Or we might become a little bit rebellious when it comes to structure. And actually, I don't want to be working for the government. I don't want to be working for authority people. I feel like I need to break away from that. Or you might be told that you need to do long hours to be successful. However, Saturn sometimes says that, yes, work hard, but work smart as well at the same time. Or maybe actually we are getting a promotion, but I am very scared to be in an authoritative position, even though in my inside part of me really badly wants that. Or because maybe there is a fear that I won't get respect from like the co-workers, because let's say we were colleagues, right? And then all of a sudden you get promoted. Obviously, you feel like you're going to lose your friends, and they won't understand at the beginning that why you act like, not like a dictator, but why you boss them around, why you tell them something. And at the beginning, it's going to happen because you want to express your bosses. So that's also very possible. Or Chiron and Saturn together can also talk about that I am afraid of growing up because actually the world sucks. So I always have to count on the help of my parents. I'm afraid of duties, and I'm afraid that I can't meet the standards. Or sometimes it is also about that I keep hearing the voices of my dad in my head, who might have told me that you are never going to be good enough, you cannot take shortcuts, you always have to stay in life, you must follow your path, you must follow the rules. So there is that internal voice which might be telling you that you are not good enough. When it comes to Chiron aspect to Uranus, well, we might have got the fear to stand out. we might have got the fear to be different in this society. This combination pretty much hates rules, especially the petty ones. Like, I'll give you an example. I don't have a Chiron and Uranus connection at all, but on top of my head, my ex-boss had. And he didn't like, I mean, he created these petty rules. So for instance, when you washed hands, you could only press the soap dispenser once, not twice, just once, because why would you use so much soap? It's just saving money. So, and then of course, this Chiron and Uranus type of energy hates those type of rules. And I remember I had a shift manager who said, no, I can't work in these circumstances. I need to go, I need to leave. So he eventually packed his bags and then he left without any notice. Because probably what happens with Chiron and Uranus, that I kind of like feel I cannot be myself because I will be judged all the time, or I need to fit in somewhere because I cannot be the black sheep of this environment. Therefore, I have to agree to things, but when it comes to actually doing those things, I become rebellious and I do something differently. So I kind of had to learn that, yes, I am going to have to say yes to something, but then when it comes to doing so, I'm going to do it in a different way. Or they won't like me if I show the real me. Or the future is very scary and kind of it causes an internal tension within us. And in many cases, it also can indicate that everyone is stupid around us. So what's the point in me showing the true, authentic self of mine to others, because they won't understand me anyway. When you have got Chiron and Neptune transit going on, we need to be looking at why we have got a guilt of being successful. We might be very afraid of going into a chaotic environment. We might feel that everyone is actually betraying me. Actually, there is a lack of imagination going on as well. I'm not really creative to become a photographer. However, that's, for instance, something I studied, right? Or I easily get annoyed by vague people. And eventually, I always end up as a victim in that environment. So somehow Chiron and Neptune believes that I have to help others, I have to be compassionate, and that's going to be the only way how I get noticed. And then eventually, I'm going to be even either solving invisible problems, or I'm going to be creating them. Or Chiron and Neptune can believe that the imagination is actually dangerous. The world is too hard, I must escape, I don't belong here. I had recently a client, I can't remember if there was Chiron and Neptune influence there, to be frank, but I know that the person's long-term goal is to live on a island, only herself, and the only thing which holds her back is money, right? So that's kind of like a Chiron and the Neptune flavor to it. Or in many cases with Chiron and Neptune, the parents know best what's good for me. So again, there is an identity crisis going on there. Or there is too much conspiracy going on in the world around me, and I don't wish to be the part of that. What I want to do is not really my choice. Always everyone else makes the decisions around me. And therefore, I'm going to be blaming those people for my own failure. And lastly, when you have got Chiron and Pluto aspect going on, we can become a little bit paranoid. We might believe that people are here to get us. Maybe there are plenty of bossy people around me. They want to be kind of like dominating leaders, and they disregard my needs or they look down on me. And of course, this time around, we need to look at whether it's something I can deal with. Pluto is kind of a politician and a leader. So it could really talk about, why am I afraid of becoming a leader? Why am I not doing something which actually includes power? And one of the reasons probably is because I hate dishonesty. Or I always get involved into situations where I cannot be honest fully, so I have to manipulate others to kind of buy that product or do what my company wants them to do, and so forth. Or it might be about that I don't know what I am passionate about. I know I'm a survivor. Maybe I healed from some type of sicknesses, cancer, and I want to keep fighting, but sometimes I feel weak to carry on fighting. Or I believe that no one has got the right to question me. So there is that authority figure-ness around me, and maybe that's what we need to revisit. Or maybe actually the boss is just not fair. And I kind of feel like I never will win his trust or his, or I will never be able to get him to give me some positive feedback. Or Chiron and Pluto can really talk about that I need to work till my last breath, till my last days, because that's what gives me power. So I hope this video helps you to understand a little bit what Chiron indicates in your chart, and basically how you can overcome that. So if you like the video, make sure you press like and share the video with others as well, especially if they have got a very prominent Chiron. But remember that Chiron's knowledge, wisdom really goes beyond Mercury's skills, right? So that Chiron within yourself, if you are ready, it heals on more levels. It heals your physical, your psychological, your emotional, your spiritual illnesses as well. These are the 4 components of our wounds. And you might need to be looking at the physical, you might need to be looking at the psychological, the emotional, or the spiritual one. So if you know which one you've got, then let us know in the comment box, and see you very shortly with another video. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.